Hey guys, Karl here. So this is a pre-recorded video. I'm sadly off for the next few days, so I wanted to pre-record some videos that I can upload in the meantime. Today I wanted to give you what I promised before, the quick meta comp overview for this patch. The meta, as for the last patch when I did my comp review, is still evolving, so what we might see is some new comps that will come up now in the meantime. But basically what I wanted to give you is a short overview over the 5 strongest compositions right now. Sad news is basically that Cybernetics is not a thing anymore. It's still a good comp, but in the late game it will fall off too quickly. So what will happen is with the new patch and how the economy changed, it's harder to get to level 9. And as I mentioned before in some of my videos, now with all the other changes that are ongoing, rolling Echo can be hard. And even if you find the Echo, if you're not 9, you don't have a chance on top 2. And that all snowballs. Basically, I tried it out a couple of times in Master, and I failed, and I had really good luck in rolling. So I basically think that at this point, Cybernetics is maximum A tier comp. It's not S tier anymore, and it's not a tool that you can force every game to just win or at least top 4. So sad times, but still, we find some other comps. So right now, I think in my opinion, strongest comp right now, if you're uncontested, you will probably win the game. Star Guardian Zorgs. Of course, if you have the right items, I should say that. So they buffed Syndra, they buffed Annie, they buffed Zoe, they buffed a few Star Guardians, plus they buffed, I think, 4 Zorgs. Yeah. So, and they introduced a new unit, which I don't even have in this build right now, but you can probably build it in. But for now, 6 Star Guardian 4 Zorgs is the strongest comp. The idea is that early game is mostly a bit more weak with this composition. If you play Star Guardian Zorgs early game, sometimes you just want to transition into it. And you can really only play it if you find a lot of tiers and if you get in the first circular tier, because this comp requires tiers. So this is the most important thing about this comp. Anything else you can kind of adapt. What you need is tiers. And you can either stack an Ari or a Syndra that you then try to 3-star in the course of the game. So mostly what you want to do is, if you want to 3-star Syndra, you want to slow roll, you can slow roll at 7. Mostly it is a good idea to slow roll at 6 because you still have a chance of hitting Ari and Syndra 3. So slow rolling at 6 I think is a good thing. At the same time, sometimes you find yourself in a position where you get too weak. So then you want to go to basically 1 level up, so to 7. And then this is basically your power spike. 7 is like the biggest power spike with this comp. So 7 is all about playing the 6 Star Guardian for Zorgs. Your front line basically is Nico and Poppy. And your Annie, I add in Annie because I quite like her for frontline. Now after the buffs, she is better in the frontlining aspect. And I think you can viably play her. So you basically have a 3-unit frontline there that holds off the enemies quite a bit. If you find, for any reason, a spat, the biggest upgrade you can basically buy is a Star Guardian spat. I can't find it right now. There it is. So you could put this on a Vel'Koz. I think this is one of the strongest applications of Star Guardian spat. And then Vel'Koz ults a lot. Vel'Koz in itself is already now with the buff, with the AI changes, a very strong unit. And with the Star Guardian spat is even buffing that. So yeah. If you find a Star Guardian spat, maybe take out the Annie, or take out the Poppy. Poppy is the worst unit here. Take out the Poppy, add in the Vel'Koz, and you have immense damage. So this is how I would play it. With the tiers, I would prioritize Seraph's Embrace on the Syndra, plus Jeweled Gauntlet. This is a very high damage build. And then you can, these Chalices of Favor have been changed, so they are even better now. What you should keep in mind is, it gives 10 mana to units within the 2-unit range, within the 2 field range. So if you build chalices, please remember to move your backline a bit closer together so they benefit from the chalices. And then, yeah, basically this snowballs quite quickly. I can't. Well, we will just ignore it. Remember, this is mostly a 7-unit composition that you want to basically 3-star, and then you level up to level 8 and level 9. And at level 8, probably what you can put in is Mystics together with the Soraka. That's probably a good idea if you're playing against other Zorgs. By the way, on the front line, Ionic Spark is always a good item in these compositions. Ionic Spark on one of the frontliners. You basically, if you get too many defensive items, you can stack the Nicoseer. It's a pretty good unit to stack defensive items to hold off the enemies a bit longer. And of course, you would need a defensive item on Syndra. That's not on there right now. I'm very sorry. So you have the choice of Guardian Angel, very, very good if you play against Infiltrators. You have the choice of Trapclaw, very good if you play against other mages or against the Misfortune composition. And there is the third item that I can't just find right now, but it is there. QSS is good if you play against units with a lot of CC. So depending on which units you play against and which other comps, I would decide between Guardian Angel, Quicksilver, and Trapclaw. And mostly you can see already in the mid game where the game is going, what comps will be strong, and then you can make your decision on what you want to basically build on your Syndra here. Or maybe you stack the Ari with these items, then you want to pick up items on the Ari, and then you basically build chalices on the Syndra. You can mix it up depending on how you equip your units. This is Infiltrators. It's still strong, even though Shaco got a big nerf. So as well, if you're uncontested, you have a strong likelihood of going for top 2. Most important items are now not Shaco items anymore. As you got nerfed, what you want to prioritize is Kai'Sa 3 with a Demolitionist charge, and best case scenario, Seraph's Embrace. It can carry you. It's a very, very strong composition. Having this 3-star Kai'Sa can blow up entire backlines. Then, of course, Super Mech stacking items is the second priority on the Super Mech. Also, Super Mech got nerfed in terms of the 3-star. So if you 3-star Annie and Rumble, these variants of the Super Mech got nerfed. So what you can do if you are contested, it can happen, you get contested. If you're uncontested, you of course want to 3-star even the Shaco. So you basically want to go to 6, slow roll your units there, pick up the 3-star Shaco, Kai'Sa, Rumble, and Annie, and after you get Annie and Kai'Sa, you can mostly go to 7 and put in either Valkyrie or Sorcerer, although I think personally Valkyrie adds more damage now that Kai'Sa is the main carry. If you're contested, mostly it might not be worth to go for 3 stars, as it is too hard to roll. Like, you can still hit Kai'Sa and Annie if you're contested quite frequently, but for example, Rumble and Shaco might be quite hard. And as these units even got nerfed if you 3-star them, might be worth to just ignore it for now. 2-star these 2 units, prioritize leveling up, and these are 3-cost units. So the good thing is, even later when you go level 8, you can still pick them up and 3-star them when the other guy is dead. So basically care about these 2 upgrades here. Go to level 8, put in your Valkyrie and your Sorcerer bonus, and then when the other guy is dead, you continue to roll for Shaco and for Rumble 3. And when you get more swords or something like that, you can start building items on Shaco. That's good as well, of course. If you 3-star him, he's still going to do a lot of damage. But this is basically how you want to play it. Still very, very, very strong. Especially strong against the comp I showed you before. So this Star Guardian comp is a bit weak against Infiltrators. So good counter to the strongest composition in the meta right now. And yeah, so on this as well, I built Ionic Spark because you want to do a lot of damage with Kai'Sa. Ionic Spark removes some of the magic resists, so that's pretty good. Titan's Resolve is a great item on the Super Mech. And then the third item you make, depending on first of all, which items you get. And second of all, again, which is the most prominent composition of your opponent. By the way, what I forgot here, mostly what you want to play is QSS, because Zephyr is too bad against the Super Mech. If the Super Mech gets Zephyred, it's over in the late game. So sometimes I would prioritize a bit more defensive items. So maybe you remove the Ionic Spark and then put on like a Warmox. You could put on a Bramble Vest. Or you just got the items lying around for Ionic Spark. Then of course you can give it to the Super Mech. But yeah, I forgot that. Never forget QSS. Alright, so this is Darkstar, third comp. I personally don't think it's one of the strongest comps. At the same time, so many people are playing it. It's relatively easy to play it. And in the late game, it's a bit, for my personal taste, it's too lucky. It's too lucky if you win it or not. Because basically, if the wrong units get killed on early in the fight, it's very fast over, and you don't have a lot of fallback with this composition. All the other units are just placeholders, basically. So yeah, this is a bit more of a risky composition. You prioritize items on Jhin, and after that on Shaco. GA is the most important component, then on the Jhin, the Rune and Hurricane, on the Shaco, the Bloodthirst, and then, I mean, Deathblade, I would like to try it out now. I haven't tried it out yet. It is changed, and I have the feeling it is very strong on Jhin. What I mostly would do is Last Whisper. IE seriously is overkill. I think Last Whisper in this meta where people are building a lot of Bramble Vests is much better. But also depends on your opponents you are facing. Alright, so this is on this comp. What you want to do is you want to play early on for Vanguard to Sniper. This is basically your early to mid game composition to get wins. And as soon as you get like 6 Dark Stars on like some of them are level 2 and you upgrade your Jin. Then you want to transition out of the Vanguards, put in the Dark Stars, and just ensure that you basically can ride home your wave of winning. Important thing to note, you need Celestial in here for the Jin to heal, so it is of utmost importance to not only have the Ash here, which gives the Cyber buff, but also the Lulu. So if you can't find Lulu first, you need the placeholder unit that can give you Celestial bonus instead of... I would prioritize it over Mystic, honestly, because if your Jin can't heal, this build is also over. So remember to get Celestial in here, or could even be a solution in this build to just build a Bloodthirster on the Jin as third item. You will still have enough damage due to the Darkstar buffs. Alright, so this is Darkstar. Play Vanguards early, transition into Darkstar, win the late game with that, take a bit of risk. And you basically try to, at the end of the game, 3-star either Shaco or Jin or both. So continue to pick up Jins and Shacos. This is Bangbros. Bangbros, I would only like go for the... So Bangbros, the entire idea of this build is, and by the way, mostly what you would do is play it a long time, similar to Protectors on 6. And I add in the chrono basically in late game, but it's sometimes a bit difficult to get there. So you will stay 6 a long time and try, similar to Protectors, 3-star for a few units. So you try to 3-star, these 3 are the most important, and then Shen, of course, is a nice add-on. You could also go for the Blitzkrieg, but I think at that point it's too much money that you're trying to roll for, so you're keeping too many units and it gets too difficult to 3-star all of them. So prioritize Yasuo and Yi. On the Yi, the most important items are Quicksilver, so he doesn't get stunned and killed, and the Ginju's Raid Blade. And then depending if your Yi dies a bit too fast, you can add in a Bramble Vest. Bramble Vest is always a pretty good item to have on this carry for a third item to just secure that he doesn't die too fast. And then the Yasuo Guardian Angel, of course, so he gets more of his ult casts of Bloodthirsters, so he can heal himself. And you could even build like an old school Yasuo with Hand of Justice or something like along those lines. You're trying to 3-star these, and then when you level up, you try to go for chrono. As I mentioned, if this is contested, it's so hard to get these to 3-star, all of these units. And it is contested a lot at the moment because they got some buffs. So what I would do, by the way, another item that got buffed, Rapid Fire Cannon, you could, instead of building an additional defensive item, build a Rapid Fire Cannon on the Yi, also pretty powerful. So these 3 items can work. And if you have spare 2 tiers, then slash it on the Sona. Sona with Seraphs is already strong. 3-star Sona is gonna do some work. And then, yeah, if it is contested, you can't really 3-star these units. I would transition into Kayle build. Kayle is also pretty strong right now. I would play it with 6 Blademaster. There are other people out there who would play it a bit differently with maybe 4 Chrono. Also an option. I prefer the 6 Blademaster variant, where you basically build into this. Your secondary carry would be Irelia. Therefore, you need the Thresh in for Mana Reaver. You have the Celestial in. This is also again really important for sustain, as in this build, like if I play with Ginju's and Rapid Fire Cannon, the Kayle does not have sustain. So you need the 2 Celestials in here to give you some form of sustain for the Kayle. And apart from that, this is also very straightforward. This is basically transitioning out of this build, and when you realize you can't really 3-star these, transitioning into this, which then is basically your 6 Blademaster build, in which you try to make the Kayle like your big carry. And in the late game, you can either go to 9, add in the Misfortune, although I would, maybe if you're not too contested for the K, which is also a bit unrealistic in the current meta, you can also go for the K3 here. Another idea might be, if you don't want to be like too risky, if you can't get the Celestials in here early enough, maybe instead of like RFC and Rage Blade, you want to remove one of these 2 and replace it with either Hand of Justice, or you can replace it with Hexagon Blade. One build I actually forgot in here, but it's in my last video, so you can either check that out or check out a variety of videos on my channel, is Void Brawlers. So Void Brawlers, basically the idea is you play 4 Brawlers, you play the Vel'Koz and the Kha'Zix to give you Void. And this is also very strong right now. The main items you need are Seraph's Embrace, QSS. You know what? I'll quickly show it to you. I'll be right back. And there I am again. Alright, so I quickly built this out. I have another video on my channel. You can check it out. It's a Void Brawler guide. But basically what I wanted to say is Void Brawler is pretty straightforward. You play the 4 Brawlers, you play the 3 Voids, and then you add in the Twisted Fate for Sorcerer Chrono buff. Idea of this build is to go to level 8 and then continue to roll for 3 Vel'Koz or Shogat, 3-star value cost is your win condition, so if you get it, happy days, you basically pick up the win. I think this is a good build if you see that Star Guardian Zorks is too contested, because obviously Star Guardian Zorks best comp at the moment in the game, in my opinion. So this is like your go-to if it is too contested and you want to go for something else where you have a better chance at winning the game. Because it also requires similar items. Like you can replace this with a crit glove, a jeweled gauntlet. And then this third item, I mostly build QSS because it's so important that the Vel'Koz gets his first ult cast off. At the same time, if you feel like you are facing a lot of Infiltrators and a lot of units that don't have as much CC, of course, if the Kaiser Demolition is charged, you might want to think about that. Then you can also build the Guardian Angel on the Vel'Koz, but mostly QSS is kind of a necessity. And what you then can do, now this is the build from before, the Void Brawler build. You need to add in a Chalice because Seraphs got nerfed. So the Chalice will give you this slight edge where the Blitzcrank will initially cast directly, and then he gives mana to these 2 units so they cast earlier. So the Blitzcrank speeds up your entire damage a bit. So build as much Chalices as you can on the Blitzcrank to give more mana to your units. And then on the Shogat, what is good is a GA, so he gets his first cast off for sure. And then you can add, it depends on which unit and which items you get. Maybe a Bramble Vest, maybe a Frozen Heart can be good to slow down enemies. You can even give him a bit more damage if you have too much spare like damage items. And if you have like 2 crits, you can also give like something like this to a Vi. So it's a very cool build that is a good alternative if Star Guardian Zorks is too many people are picking up Star Guardian Zorks in your lobby. So in general, these are my builds for now. There are more builds out there. I will try to experiment a bit more that can work, but I think these are for sure the ones that are very strong. So please feel free to check them out. Leave me feedback here. If you have questions regarding a specific build, we can make an in-depth guide. But I need a bit more time because right now I can't really play and stream a lot for the next 2 or 3 days. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Leave the like and subscribe if you like the video. See you soon on the battlefield. Thank you.